What's up, y'all? Another Bible study, Bible reading, Luke 20. On one of the days while he was teaching the people in the temple and preaching the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes with the elders confronted him, and they spoke, saying to him, "Tell us by what authority you are doing these things, or who is the one that gave you this authority?" Jesus answered and said to them, "I will also ask you a question, and you tell me. Was the baptism from John the Baptist, was the baptism of John from heaven or of men?" They reasoned among themselves, saying, "If we say, from heaven, he will say, why did you not believe him? But if we say, from men, all the people will stone us to death, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered and said that they didn't know where it came from. And Jesus said to them, "Nor will I tell you by what authority I do these things." And he began to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard and rented it out to vine growers, and went on a journey for a long time. A vineyard is Jerusalem. The vine growers, that's the Jews, the house of Judah. At the harvest time, he sent a slave to the vine growers so that they would give him some of the produce of the vineyard. But the vine growers beat him and sent him away empty-handed. And he proceeded to send another slave, and they beat him also and treated him shamefully and sent him away empty-handed. See, these are the prophets. And he proceeded to send a third, and this one they also wounded and cast out. The owner of the vineyard, God, the owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. Perhaps they will respect him." Jesus. But when the vine growers saw him, they reasoned with one another, saying, "This is heir. Let us kill him, so that the inheritance will be ours." So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. Speaking of Jesus. What then will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and destroy these vine growers and will give the vineyard to others. Believers in Jesus. When they heard it, they said, "May it never be." See, they understood that he was talking about them. But Jesus looked at them and said, What then is this that is written? The stone which the builders rejected, this became the chief cornerstone." Jesus is the cornerstone, which the builders, the Jews, rejected. Everyone who falls on that stone will be broken to pieces, but on whoever it falls, it will scatter him like dust. The scribes and chief priests tried to lay hands on him in that very hour, and they feared the people, for they understood that he spoke the parable against them. So they watched him, and sent out spies who pretended to be righteous in order that they might catch him in some statement, so that they could deliver him to the rule and authority of the governor. They questioned him, saying, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach correctly, and you're not partial to any, but teach the way of God in truth. Is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" But he detected their trickery and said to them, "Show me a denarius." "Whose likeness and inscription does it have?" They said, "Caesar's." And he said to them, "Then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." And they were unable to catch him in a saying in the presence of the people. And being amazed at his answer, they became silent. Now there came to him some of the Sadducees, who say there is no resurrection. And they questioned him, saying, "Teacher, Moses wrote for us that if a man's brother dies, having a wife, and he is childless, his brother should marry the wife and raise up children to his brother. Now there were 7 brothers." This is actual true story out of one of the apocryphal books that were removed from the Bible a couple hundred years ago. Now there were 7 brothers, and the first took a wife and died childless, and the second and the third married her, and in the same way all 7 died, leaving no children. Finally the woman died also. And the resurrection, therefore, which one's wife will she be? For all 7 had married her. Jesus said to them, the sons of this age marry and are given in marriage. But those who are considered worthy to attain to that age and of resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage, for they cannot even die anymore, because they are like angels, and are sons of God, being sons of the resurrection. But that the dead are raised, even Moses showed in the passage about the burning bush, when he calls the Lord the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Now he is not the God of the dead, but of the living, for all live to him. All faithful believers live to him, give up, deny themselves, and live to him. Some of the scribes answered and said, Teacher, you have spoken well. For they didn't have courage to question him any longer about anything. Then he said to them, how is it that they say Christ is David's son? For David himself in the book of Psalms says, the Lord said to my Lord, that is, Yahweh said to my Lord, that is, God the Father said to Jesus, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Therefore David calls him Lord. And how is he his son? See, he was descended from David, from the tribe of Judah. But he is Lord. And while all the disciples were listening, and while all the people were listening, he said to the disciples, beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes, and love respectful greetings in the marketplaces, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and places of honor at banquets, who devour widows' houses, and for appearance's sake offer long prayers. These will receive greater condemnation, because they're doing it for men. They love the praise of men over the praise of God. They're doing it for the look, to appear righteous, but inside they're not. That's the end of chapter 20. God bless you guys.